So ever since the middle of 2021, there has been a ton of leaks and rumors online suggesting that Donkey Kong is indeed set for a major return to the Nintendo Switch with a brand new mainline game potentially being worked on from the Super Mario Odyssey team. And in today's video, I want to talk through where some of those leaks and rumors stemmed from, also walk down memory lane and boot up Donkey Kong Country 2 and Tropical Freeze together, and talk about the evolution of Donkey Kong so far and what we can expect from this franchise going forward in the year of 2022 and beyond. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, I'm pumped and hyped to make this video today, guys, because if you don't know, and I've talked about it numerous times on the channel, but of course, new people come in all the time, and I want to tell you guys that one of my favorite series of all time is indeed the Donkey Kong Country series, as that's where most of my nostalgia lies, right here on the SNES era. Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3 being my all-time favorites, and really Donkey Kong Country 2, in my opinion, being the pinnacle of what a 2D platformer should be. And when I tell you that I can sit here in 2022 today and enjoy this 90s game like it just came out, like I'm really being honest when I say that. I also have this 8-bit wireless SNES controller that does support analogs as well, but it kind of takes me back to that era of playing this game growing up. And I'm gonna briefly kind of highlight some of the great things that Donkey Kong Country did, and then also transition that into Tropical Freeze, and then obviously bring it all into a discussion of where is Donkey Kong, because, you know, Tropical Freeze was originally out on the Wii U back in 2014, then of course ported over to the Switch in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So with that, you know, we're clearly due for a new Donkey Kong. And then last year, there was a couple different sources, Zippo being one of them, which is not a reliable source at this point, I would say, just for the simple fact that once upon a time, Zippo was on a crazy track record and probably did have some inside connections. And then more recently, his leaks and predictions have been all over the place. But we had multiple sources besides him claim that not only was a new Donkey Kong in the works and planned for a return, but would actually be coming rather soon, and it was potentially being worked on by the same team that developed Super Mario Odyssey, or at least the same company, because, you know, obviously they're going to have different branches of development teams and things. But when you talk about a series that needs a return, I think Donkey Kong's at the top of the list. For Nintendo, it's not the biggest seller out there, but it always does well. I think Tropical Freeze did 2 million copies on the Wii U and then close to 3 million on the Switch when it was ported over, so about 5 million total. And then, of course, I think now with the more expanded Switch user base, if they really pumped up the marketing of a new Donkey Kong game, it could sell huge numbers like it did back in the day, because the original Donkey Kong Country on the SNES sat at about 9 million total sales, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a big franchise for Nintendo. And a lot of the speculation around, you know, not just the leaks and things and people saying that it will probably come back, but Nintendo's planning a big expansion in their Nintendo World theme park in Japan for Donkey Kong. And a lot of the talk is that, of course, you know, alongside of an expansion with their theme park, it would make a lot of sense to bring back and market a game alongside of it and get Donkey Kong fresh in gamers' minds again. And then, you know, you go to the Nintendo World theme park in Tokyo and you get to enjoy, you know, a character that you freshly recognize from a new installment. Now, a lot of people are wanting Donkey Kong to return to 3D. And while I am perfectly fine with that, I honestly am ready for a 3D Donkey Kong experience, as I was a fan of Donkey Kong 64, and I still hope we're getting that on NSO eventually. That's one of the better Rare games on Nintendo 64 rather. And to be fair, every Rare game just about on the N64 was a true classic. And so, you know, while I do hope that we see that brought over, there's definitely a lot of interesting things you could do with a 3D Donkey Kong. Granted, and I can't remember the source on this, but there was definitely a lot of talk that that it was claimed to be a 2.5D game, which would be more in line with probably, is there a secret barrel over here? I guess there isn't. More in line with what we see in a Tropical Freeze style, and maybe some, like, you know, unique camera changes, kind of like Metroid Dread, if you will. If you come around a corner and you see it kind of go into a 3D perspective for a minute, but you're never really playing in 3D, it could be something like that. We'll have to wait and see, but you know, it's just really one of those games that I don't think it gets enough credit. I think it kind of gets forgotten about nowadays. One, how good the soundtrack is. If you want to talk about quality music in a 2D platformer, I mean, Donkey Kong Country 2 is the best in my opinion. I don't think they've ever come close to it. So whoever the composer was, which I don't know off the top of my head, should certainly come back for whatever the new Donkey Kong project is going to be. And, you know, it's just, it's a timeless classic in my opinion, and one that offers a real challenge. And Tropical Freeze does as well, and that's where I think they are on the right track, or at least they were, as Retro Studios actually developed Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and they kept that challenge factor in the game, which is a big deal because, you know, these earlier levels are somewhat easy, but later on you really have to develop skill to get through the levels. And of course, you know, on the Switch, I believe, oh, I messed that up there. On the Switch, I believe they did enable the Funky Kong mode, which is essentially an easy mode, because if you play as Funky Kong, you don't have to worry about platforming so much, as he just like hovers on his hoverboard or whatever it is. And you know, but if you're not using Funky Kong mode, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is absolutely a challenging game, as is Donkey Kong Country 2. Especially, you talk about towards the end of this game, when you really get into getting close to the final boss and K. Rool and everything, you're talking about some, like, to this day, I will fail over and over and over again, even playing this game pretty frequently off and on throughout, you know, just growing up. And even now, this is one that, you know, if I'm just wanting to feel nostalgic for a night, whenever they came out with the Super NES Mini, which I would love to see an N64 Mini. Let me know in the comments down below if you hope we see that return one day. I think it's less likely now that NSO is a thing, but for a minute there, Nintendo's strategy for bringing back classic games was to bring a mini system out, sell it to you, and then you would have an access to, you know, all of the good classics on the mini line of consoles. But that was one that I found myself, whenever I got that SNES Mini, just booting up for fun and completing the game. I hit the wrong button there. You have a home button on this controller as well. But so, you know, booting up the game and really just having a ton of fun going through start to finish. Like I could actually sit down and complete Donkey Kong Country 2 and even the original Donkey Kong Country in one sitting. And there's some levels in Donkey Kong Country 1, to be fair, that I'm like way more nostalgic for, like the very first snow level, which I believe is World 4, even the minecart level in Donkey Kong 1 as well, which they have similar ones to that, like with the roller coaster ride here. But in Donkey Kong Country 1, that snow level has nostalgia like no other. And then it also, of course, has probably one of the best background songs ever, period. So, but everything about these games is a true classic. I do think that fans that don't, you know, if you have NSO right now and you haven't played through Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3, definitely do so. I do think that 1 and 2 are the two strongest contenders, and 3 kind of fell off just a little bit for me. Not saying it's a bad game by any means, still a great 2D platformer, but something that, oh, I need my dolphin friend, not dolphin. I always called him a dolphin as a kid, and I still am to this day, but I believe he's a swordfish. But you do have like his charge attack that can get us through that. And they of course have the little messages with like hitting the A button. It's shaped out by bananas and things. And can't remember exactly where I was going with my train of thought before this. That's part of the thing about these type of videos. When I'm playing as I talk, I lose where I was going half the time. But definitely something that I think they need to return to form, and just, even if they give us another experience like this, but with updated visuals and just really creative level design, I think it would be great. I've seen a lot of people comment and say too that like Tropical Freeze was kind of the, like, as good as you can take a 2D platformer in today's era. And I do tend to agree with that. I do think that it is really good for what it can deliver. But, you know, something about the vibe of these Donkey Kong Country games is just, while I do want to see what a 3D Donkey Kong has to offer, I'm also so down for just more games like this. So we'll see what ends up happening. I think we'll call it good on DKC2. I would like to get through some of the later levels and things, but in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and hop over to Tropical Freeze so you guys can kind of see how this core formula of traversing through the levels and having, you know, your items, your collectibles, your Kong letters, you have the DK coins. You kind of see how this basic formula transitioned into the modern day, what we've seen with the last Donkey Kong installment. And then we'll talk more obviously about whether or not it's going to be that 2.5D or 3D experience as well. But we'll quickly hop over to Tropical Freeze now. So you then fast forward from a 90s game to a more modern era installment of Donkey Kong, which of course is Tropical Freeze. This game really still to this day does look incredible, and it really plays great as well. And I do think that you don't have to make a Donkey Kong even look much prettier than this. I mean, obviously, if they transition it to 3D, that's a little bit of a different story at that point where they would have to rework how it looks and things. But just from the graphical presentation quality of this, like even in 2022, granted, this was originally a Wii U game in 2014, as I mentioned, it still looks and holds up great to this day. They, of course, have the ground pound mechanic here. We'll find our friend Diddy Kong here before too much longer. I always prefer to play as Diddy Kong. In Donkey Kong Country 2, though, the game that of course we just switched from, I would actually prefer Dixie Kong in certain levels and Diddy Kong in others. I love how fast Diddy Kong is, and I always preferred him, but then at the same time, you would have Dixie Kong's hair, which would essentially let you levitate, so definitely helpful in some of the trickier platforming areas. And this game, to be fair, I'm not near as well versed in. I mean, I can definitely get through it, no problem. I've beaten this game, I would say, 2 or 3 times in total, and only did like 100% run once, which actually took a lot of time because there's a ton of secret paths and additional items to get to really add into that replay value this time around. So I think we have Diddy Kong now, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic because he gets on your back as a boost. And you know what? Can you even play as Diddy Kong standalone in this game? I think you can. And I played through this once with a buddy, but I did forget about that whenever you get Diddy Kong, he's actually just more of your companion for boosting and things. And I wonder if he goes away, I think I do just go back to Donkey Kong. So maybe I'm thinking of the co-op aspect there with playing as Diddy Kong. But yeah, you guys let me know that in the comments down below. Different mechanics for sure, as opposed to just having them hit once and then they go away. You have a heart system where each one of them has 2 hearts. So very different from what we saw on the SNES era, which not gonna lie, I mean, I don't mind this one, but I would actually say, and it's probably just my nostalgia talking, but I would probably be more up for, in terms of a future Donkey Kong release, actually going back to that. Play as one character, trade off, tag them in and out, and then based off if you get hit, then that character goes away and you have to find another DK barrel to get him back. But of course, I'm very old school when it comes to Donkey Kong. I will be curious to see, I mean, the same way we see Kirby go through, you know, of course, Kirby in the Forgotten Lands with its kind of transformation to 3D, but also still not a fixed camera because you can move it, but just somewhat of a, oh, and you see here kind of the 3D perspectives, or I guess you could call this the 2.5D sections of this current installment in Donkey Kong. I know we missed the O back there, but no big deal. This is not a 100% attempt by any means. But cool transitional moments there when you go from different parts of the levels. You definitely didn't have stuff like this on the SNES. But if they do end up doing the 3D route, I could almost see it being something like Kirby, like we saw them do with Forgotten Land, where it is essentially a 3D game, but almost a, you know, Mario 3D world vibe in terms of how you platform, and in terms of like the camera will kind of have fixed sections that it will go through on its own, and then based off of how you can move the camera around, but it's going to be more of a fixed looking point rather than it just being like a true up Mario Odyssey style camera. Now, if they want to go all out and they really want to give Donkey Kong the Mario Odyssey treatment, I think they can do it right. They just they have to not mess it up, because that's going to be a tall task to pull off. But I think that they could do it. I think it's time. I definitely do think that fans who haven't played Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3, they are on NSO right now, all 3 of them, which is fantastic. And if you don't own Tropical Freeze, another one worth checking out. Especially, you should be able to see kind of like by the style of this gameplay if this is the type of game that you would be interested in and would be into and playing through and everything. So if it seems like your style of game, these are about as good as it gets when it comes to 2D platformers, in my opinion. And the challenge is definitely there with each of them. That's another thing, is that these games are more old school in the sense that they do not bend. You are going to have to figure out the tactics and get good enough to survive all of the challenges they throw at you. And it's going to get hard to survive here. Let me see if I can get my second heart there, which we did. But I will just say that I definitely think that these are a game that, as we walk forward past 2022, are sorely missing if we don't get new installments on the Nintendo Switch, as it's just been too long since we've seen the return of DK. And especially when you look at things like the expansion in the Nintendo Japan theme park, why not market it alongside of a brand new Donkey Kong game? So I'm hopeful we'll see our Donkey Kong friend return in a big way. I definitely want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. what you actually prefer, whether that be 2D or 3D. I know a lot of people are ready for a 3D Donkey Kong return. I'm curious to see how they will handle it, especially since it obviously won't be developed by Rare anymore, which I think Rare is like a master at 3D platformers like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64. And so do you prefer that style of game where it's a 3D and you do want to see it kind of in that Mario Odyssey treatment, or do you expect it to, if we do see it to be 3D, kind of similar to have gameplay similar to more of like Kirby and the Forgotten Land? Because that's kind of what I'm thinking they would do, but of course that's just speculation. And then definitely let me know if you're cool with just a 2D Donkey Kong coming back, because 2.5D is more than fine for me if they do it right. I'm just ready to play more Donkey Kong, some great stages, great music, and enjoy the game. So I do look forward to hearing from you guys, regardless of your thoughts and opinions on this topic, in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic.